Trudeau has run up more debt in his short time in office than every single prime minister in Canada managed in total since the founding of the state. And the consequence of that has been an incredible inflation, asset inflation, especially in the housing market, and an unparalleled level of...
With one of the world's most beautiful sceneries, relaxed, generous, and highly amiable citizens, undercrowded and unpolluted cities, and a buoyant economy, Canada has enjoyed a lily-white international reputation, a reputation almost as pristine as its ice-cold and spanking white winters. Canada served as a role model to other developed countries for over a decade. With her highly patriotic and fun-loving citizens, this great country quickly earned the reputation of being a heaven on earth for citizens and foreigners alike. But that is gradually fading under the repressive administration of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Canada's once fun-loving and highly patriotic citizens are now tired, angry, and completely burdened by the Prime Minister's woke agenda and World Economic Forum ambitions. Trudeau has also been able to create so much bad blood between Canadians that they are now divided along the lines of normal and woke or abnormal, misogynistic, and unpatriotic. As grave as the social implications of Trudeau's policies are, they do not come close to the Prime Minister's disastrous economic policies. Trudeau is single-handedly destroying the future of this great country. Recent data from the Fraser Institute, an independent, nonpartisan Canadian research organization, Trudeau's government has increased per-person debt by 35.3%, the third highest amount since World War II. Welcome to Savvy Economists and the sad tale of Canada's heavy debt problem. Under a Prime Minister who has confessed to having no knowledge about monetary matters, Canada's pristine reputation and buoyant economy are quickly waning, leaving the once happy and easy-going citizens depressed, confused, and angry. Please watch, like, and share this video. Drop your comments and observations below and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Let's dive right in. We begin with this short clip of Jordan Peterson, a renowned Canadian author, clinical psychologist, and professor emeritus at the University of Toronto.
And you can add to that the consequences of his idiot energy policies, which have emboldened Putin and which have also produced an unparalleled increase in energy prices across Canada. And so we're also, and then that's not enough. That's not enough.
No.
In the past year, I have tried to buy, for what it's worth, a new car, a couple of small boats, just fun boats. And I know that's a luxury item. That's not the point. A snowmobile. I've tried to make a vinyl record, and I've tried to get Penguin Random House to put out a double edition of my book. Penguin couldn't do it because there's a cardboard and paper shortage. The vinyl record industry has an 8 to 12 month delay. You can't get a snowmobile, you can't get a small boat, and no one can buy a car. And the reason for that is the supply chains are so disrupted that it's cataclysmic. 1 in 5 container ships are trapped in ports at the moment because the ports can't keep up with the demand. We have no idea how badly fragmented the supply chains are, and that's going to produce a catastrophic outcome, especially come fall, because we're going to have a very difficult time moving enough food around the world, to say nothing of enough goods. And so we have a massive debt, we have an inflation that's starting to get out of control, we have a housing bubble that's no joke, and we have supply chain disruptions, the magnitude of which have never been seen before, at least not in the last 30 years, and that pose a threat to the integrity of the entire world economic system. And so that also seems to be a bit of a problem that Trudeau has had a major hand in producing. And that's along with his stated disinterest in financial matters, because he said that explicitly, he has no real interest in economic matters.
This is Trudeau's Canada, a country battling a 30-year high inflation under a Prime Minister who has confessed to having no real interest in economic issues. This probably explains why the Prime Minister has been able to rake up such a high federal debt ratio for all Canadians. According to the Fraser study, Trudeau's government is projected to increase per-person federal debt by more than 35% since taking office in late 2016, increasing federal debt per Canadian from $34,791 to $47,070. The study also found that federal debt per Canadian has increased by over 25% from before the pandemic in 2019 until 2022. Jake Fuss, Associate Director of Fiscal Studies with the Fraser Institute and co-author of the research paper, had this to say about the unpleasant development. While some emergency spending for COVID was necessary, the significant increase in federal debt in recent years means more tax dollars will go towards paying interest, and future generations are on the hook for today's spending. Since the Second World War, Pierre Trudeau and Brian Mulroney are the only prime ministers who experienced recessions and increased the federal debt per Canadian more than the current administration. During his second tenure between 1980 and 1984, the senior Trudeau increased the federal debt per Canadian by 58.8%, while Mulroney increased it by 42.5% between 1984 and 1993. Prime Ministers Stephen Harper and John Diefenbaker also experienced recessions during their tenures, but increased per person at 11.4% and 5.5%, respectively. Here is another short clip from Rex Murphy, a Canadian commentator on political and social matters, and former host of Cross Country Checkup, a nationwide call-in show that Murphy hosted for 21 years.
In 2015, he said, and I can almost quote, "I'm looking you straight in the eye now, and I'm speaking to you honestly, as I always do." This is when he was going to have $10 billion deficits per year. That by 2019, we will return to a balance by 2019. Now again, pre-COVID, we can understand spending of a considerable magnitude beyond any promise during the regime of COVID. But the extent to which this government wildly, and we never did see, because again, he was operating from the cottage. He was walking down the steps of the Rideau Hall cottage rather than going to Parliament, all alone in a little covey of media people under a canvas tent, and he was throwing out billions this way and billions that way. If you do not think that the billions upon billions upon billions that were flushed out without scrutiny, the Auditor General did not have adequate means to survey them, and he said that, and he asked for other people. We're going to have a harvest of scandals in years to come, but that's not the main point. It's the point that you're making, that the spending levels of debt and deficit were well over $1 trillion. And the Bank of Canada has already jacked up the interest rate twice. I talked to a financial man just yesterday. It's going to be worse and worse and worse. We have had a holiday from economic reason during this period, and he has overspent. Stephen Harper was correct. The spending during COVID may have been necessary, but this was overkill. I would say overkill with magnitude, and it was not governed. They're even now trying to get back CERB payments from 1 million Canadians. When the interest rates rise and people who have houses and mortgages start to learn what it is like to be in previously normal times, inflation hits at the worst possible moment. 2 full years of economic devastation because of COVID, because of the regime. They closed down things that didn't have to be closed. They killed businesses. We're going to see tremendous devastation across, and then the jihad against Alberta oil. That is criminally stupid. We are depriving not only Alberta, but the Canadian treasury during the return prices of natural oil and gas, highest almost ever. And we have made them, Mr. Trudeau, Mr. Singh, Elizabeth May, and the cabal of professional environmentalists have made poor Alberta and Saskatchewan's oil and gas industry a demonic presence.
Alienating a whole province to score cheap green energy scores, increasing federal debt per citizen by over $12,000, and doing far too little for the economy. These are some of Justin Trudeau's many crimes against Canada and Canadians. As a Canadian, what do you think about Justin Trudeau's economic policies and his general handling of his duties as Prime Minister? As a non-Canadian, how has your view of the country changed since Trudeau assumed office? Please drop your thoughts and observations below. As a newly created channel, we need all the help we can get. To support us, please watch, like, and share our videos. You can also subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.